everyone. We are about to start the fourth breakout session, and we'll let our very lovely Elli Sparks take it away.
Awesome. Let's get started. Last breakout workshop of the series. Thanks for sticking with us this long. After this session, we head back to the main Zoom line for our final plenary. So let's get started. By determining what you want to get out of the next 30 minutes, I imagine that you understand that we need a system change. You want Congress to play a role in moving us from high carbon to low carbon energy. You seek specific ways to help Citizens Climate Lobby with these goals. Using the chat, would you answer what other things you would like to get out of our training this last session of the afternoon? Please type those into the chat. I would like to see those so I can make sure we cover as many as we can. So what things do you want to get out of this particular workshop, the 5 levers of political will? How exactly to get started on these and help others do the same, says Elaine. Thanks, Elaine. Anybody else? Oh, I think that's good. Oh, good. Understand different ways to engage different communities. All right, so let's go ahead. Thanks for sharing these goals. We will get to those. Review the 5 levers, says Jim, definitely. For those of you who don't know me, oh good, now now we get some answers. I'd like to find some ways to gain more members. Oh, I love that, Jonathan. Connect with local City 100% projects, ways to bring up climate change and casual conversations. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Elli Sparks, Director of Field Development. A decade ago, I started the first chapter in Virginia. I joined as staff 5 years ago. I farm regeneratively on 80 acres that my aunt owns in South Central Virginia, and I'm a grandmother. I will happily show you pictures of 17-month-old Isabel. Now, again, in the chat, we're going to use the chat a bit today. I'd like you to introduce yourself. How long have you been with CCL, and what is the first thing you've done as a volunteer? Some of you may be brand new, and that's okay. You've been with us for one day, and this is your first action. Others have been around for weeks or months or a year. So in the chat, how long have you been with CCL, and what is the first thing you did as a volunteer? Howard in Australia, awesome. So how long have you been with CCL? A member for 3 years. First action was lobbying our member of Congress. Welcome, Elaine. Brand new, says Mary. CCL for 2 years, says Susan. First thing was tabling at a library. Love it. I'm reading these, coming so fast. 1 year, 3 years, tabling, lobby day, letter to the editor, 4 years, 4 months, brand new, tabling, LTE, 6 months. Nice. All right. Well, keep those coming in. Feel free to read them as we go. Welcome, newcomers and old timers, and thank you for all of your help so far and your willingness to learn. So our mission includes 2 parts. 1, to build the political will for a livable world. 2, to empower people to have breakthroughs in personal and political power. At CCL, we believe politicians don't create political will, they respond to it. It is our job to create the political will. Now, as Mark mentioned this morning, our founder, Marshall Saunders, died this past winter. Former South Carolina Representative Bob Inglis sent Marshall a letter during the time that Marshall was in hospice. And I would like to read a piece of that letter to you. Dear Marshall, I am so honored that you asked Mark to call me. I wish that Pam could show me to that back room in your house. I wish that I could greet you with a hug. I wish that we could cry together and laugh together. I wish I could see that sparkle in your eyes and breathe in that gentle spirit of boundless optimism that surrounds you. I'd have in my hand the note that you wrote to me on June 24th, 2010, days after I'd lost in the Republican primary. On stationery from the Washington Court Hotel, you wrote, quote, if you want to give your best in any selfless service, choose the right goal, use the right means, and don't think about the results. Leave them to me, Lord Krishna. Bob goes on, I tell you that these words surely describe your life. You've given your best in selfless service, Marshall. You've chosen the right goal. You've used the right means. Surely you can leave the results to God. Now, that summer in 2010, Bob Inglis left the House after his defeat and then started a personal campaign to speak directly to Republicans about climate change. You see, Marshall had a breakthrough by starting CCL. Experiencing his breakthrough inspired Marshall to encourage Bob to have his own transformative breakthrough. And that's how breakthroughs work. We take each other higher with each breakthrough. That's the energy or spirit embodied in the second part of our mission. So breakthroughs are the how we do it. Building political will is what we do. Back in 2013, our Texas volunteer leaders wanted something to bite into bigger than meet with your member of Congress and ask them to sponsor carbon fee and dividends. They had been meeting with their member of Congress for 3 years, and it felt to our volunteers in Texas like they would never be able to move their member of Congress up the ladder of engagement. It was as if a lever was stuck. So they decided that if one lever seemed stuck, then they might pull on some other levers to get movement in the district or state, movement that might inspire their members of Congress to lead on climate solutions. So they looked at the various activities we were already doing, writing letters to the editor, tabling at community events, giving talks to clubs and faith groups, holding monthly chapter meetings, asking local leaders to endorse our proposal. And they organized these and other activities into 5 categories they dubbed the 5 levers of political will. Using the chat again, see if you can guess, or maybe you know if you've been around for a while, the 5 levers. Let's name those levers in the chat. There are 5 of them. Let's see who can guess what those levers are. So guessing the levers. Lobbying Congress, definitely lever 1. What else? What are the other 4? Grassroots. Very good. That's lever 3. Grass tops, business leaders. So we get a little more. Those are good. Those are definitely some of the activities under some of the levers. So you've got grass tops, grassroots, lobbying, letters to the editor, fall, media. There we go. Oh, Lauren has the answer. Lobbying, media, grassroots outreach, grass tops engagement, and chapter development. All right. Gold, little froggy on the lily pad for Lauren on the little wall in the kindergarten classroom here. So let's consider how these levers interface with each other and why we need teamwork to get the job done. So first of all, we as citizens lobby our members of Congress. We ask them for what we want to solve the climate crisis in general, and in particular to pass the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. Right now, we have an alternate primary ask, the Reclaim Act, which uses existing funds to hire former coal workers to clean up the mess that coal companies have left behind in coal country. If a member of Congress has done both of these or cannot yet see themselves supporting either of those, then we request they sponsor other bills, ones that might resonate with the member of Congress, because these bills have a regional or topical flavor. These bills relate to climate and provide a member of Congress a chance to say yes to us. And after all, when someone says yes one time, it becomes easier to say yes again. Now, as I describe the next 3 levers, consider how these provide political cover or demonstrate political will. Media relations. A member of Congress looks to the local newspaper to find out what folks in the district think about issues. When they see letters to the editor or op-eds addressing climate change in general or the Energy Innovation Act in particular, members of Congress sense growing support to take action. A local newspaper endorsing the Energy Innovation Act sends a very clear message to a member of Congress. Can you imagine what it might mean to a member of Congress who has received the endorsement of the local paper for their last election to see the same paper endorse a particular bill? That's called political cover, and it allows a member of Congress to seriously consider becoming a climate hero. Phone calls, emails, snail mail letters, and postcards, text, social media posts, All of these demonstrate to a member of Congress that more and more people in the state or district want action. Our particular flavor, the spice all of us in CCL add to the grassroots effort around climate, is appreciation. When we tweet on Twitter or send an email, when we post on Facebook or call a congressional office, we always point out something a member of Congress has done or is doing that we appreciate. We choose to see leadership potential in them. We let them know we see that potential, and then we ask them to lead for us. The message goes like this: thank you, Congress, for your leadership. We will take more, please. And this time, climate focused. Again, thank you. Next comes grass tops engagement, where a member of Congress hears from his or her peers, local elected leaders, state legislatures, business owners, corporate leaders, faith and civic leaders, farmers, university presidents, hospital administrators, industry associations, and the list goes on. These local, state, and national leaders share their support of the bill with their member of Congress. They lend their weight by joining us in a lobby meeting. They speak privately to the member of Congress, or they register their support by adding their name to the bill's supporter list. Bonus points if any campaign donors endorse the bill. You see, the member of Congress trusts these people and turns to them for advice and guidance. So their individual voices make a disproportionate impact on a member of Congress. That's why we seek their support as endorsers. Now imagine a meeting with the president of the local chamber of commerce. When you introduce the idea of the Energy Innovation Act, she says, I heard about that at my Rotary Club meeting on Zoom when your fellow CCL volunteer presented last week. Glad you called me. I've got a few questions I'm hoping you can answer about the bill. So the work volunteers do in grassroots helps the volunteers working in grass tops and media. Now, I see group development as the human resources department of a chapter. These folks hold the whole chapter together, hosting meetings, welcoming new volunteers, helping new members engage in the other levers, calling volunteers, checking up on activities and actions. Now let's consider for a moment which one of these levers sounds most energizing to each of us, and definitely saw that in the early posts when we first started chatting. Now, when I joined CCL as a volunteer 10 years ago, the very first thing I did was host a party for friends. I served food, and they wrote handwritten letters to our members of Congress. I gave those letters to our lobby team, of which I was also a member. With a very small or new chapter, volunteers wear many hats. The lobby team took the letters from my party and delivered those to the member of Congress. Now, after that, I set up a tabling activity at an environmental film festival. I sat there all weekend, sharing information about CCL and our legislative proposal. I got people there to write letters to their member of Congress. And after I got home from tabling, I called or emailed the people who shared their contact information with me at the table. I invited them to join me in our new chapter, and I put all of their names in a spreadsheet so I could manage our growing list of supporters and volunteers in Richmond. I really liked writing letters to the editor. I wrote them almost once a month and started a meeting with the editorial page editor of the Richmond Times-Dispatch. As a result, the editorial page editors began to write and publish lead editorials calling on Congress to solve the climate crisis and requesting leadership from congressional conservatives. Now, a small group of us in the chapter met with a local respected retired banker. We pitched our legislative proposal and got his feedback. That was our first foray into grass tops. And as the gal starting the chapter in Richmond, I coordinated the monthly meetings, hosted our climate advocate training, workshop, picked up food for us to eat, and called volunteers to help. Personally, I liked doing all of these different actions, and that may be what you want to do too. Or you may clearly and distinctly find yourself drawn to one lever over the others. So in the chat, share which lever speaks most to you and what you'd like to do this next month to activate that lever. So it might be you just want to learn a little bit more, or you want to take an action, maybe start a special project, work with others. Oh, good. Media relations, write an LTE for a local paper. Love it. LTE. Great. Keep coming in with the answers. What do you want to do in this next month? Which lever? What kind of activity? Even if it's just learning. Learn more about LTEs. Great. You can do that on community. Write an op-ed. Ooh, advancing from letters to the editor. Do more to keep up with members. Yes, yes, yes. That makes a big difference. Elaine, learn more, definitely. Group development. Oh, we are going to be doing some new workshops on group development. So group development people, be in touch with me. Introduce CCL to Earth Care Team at Church. Nice. Grassroots there. All right, very good. Love seeing the interest in the levers and the ways in which you want to learn and do and lead. So keep those coming in. All right. Now we've got an understanding of the levers and which one feels most energizing to us. Great work. By the way, the lever that you pick isn't set in stone, and many of us work on more than one lever, as you heard from my story. It's okay to learn about and activate any or all of them. Now, let's explore our individual assets and strengths. When team members know each other's strengths, they can more effectively move forward together. And those of you who said you were interested in group development, perk up your ears, especially on the next couple of slides, because these are some tools you can use. All right, so if we know our aversions or weaknesses, we can partner in ways where someone else's strength compensates for our weakness. So for example, if you ask me to manage a database, I will do it for the cause, but it is not my forte nor my interest. I find it tedious and torturous. But if you give me a presentation, I will more than happily step up. So pair me up with someone who can manage the database of business cards we collect from the Rotary Club talks I give, and someone else who can line up those presentations. I will have a lot of fun working with these teammates on a presentation crew. So let's do a writing assignment together. Hopefully you've got a piece of paper and a pen or somewhere you can type some things down. We've got 2 slides coming up. The first one has some writing prompts. You can answer those in phrases or sentences. The prompts will help you share a little more about yourself. We'll take a few minutes for the first page. The second page is a checklist. You can pick out what you like doing from that list. Now hang on to your answers to both of these slides. Find time to share them with your group leader in the next week or so. And if you like how the questions flow, you can help with your chapter's onboarding efforts using these questions with new volunteers. Now you can find these questions actually in the volunteer inventory on the community website, so you can look them up later and have them in your hand. So this is slide 1. On your paper, on your computer, wherever you're writing or thinking in your mind, answered these questions. We'll walk through these together. 1, what would you like to share regarding your interest in CCL and climate? In my answer, I would mention that climate is my #1 issue. And I like how CCL starts from a place of respect and gratitude. So write your thoughts down on your interest in CCL and climate. I'll give you a few seconds on that. All right, so number 2, what are your interests outside of CCL? My answer includes regenerative agriculture, poetry, music, and dance, my children and my grandbaby, and traveling to see them. So what are your interests outside of CCL? I'll give you a couple seconds to answer that. What are your interests outside of CCL? And if you've got a piece of paper, you can write these down because I want you to share those with your group leader. All right, so number 3, what are your area of expertise? Pat yourself on the back, we say. Okay, I'm a self-taught expert in healing food and regenerative agriculture. I'm pretty good at writing and presenting. I can develop and lead a training session. What about you? You could mention your profession or areas of study or skill sets. I'll give you a couple of seconds. What are your areas of expertise? Do not be shy. Now, in which groups do you hold membership? So I'm a member, for example, of the Virginia Association of Biological Farmers. Where do you hold membership? Civic, faith groups, neighborhood associations. Question 5, where do you live? So this is helpful for a chapter member leader to know. I live way out in the countryside in a town called Keysville. You might mention a neighborhood, a part of the city, a rural town. So give you a couple seconds for that. Where do you live? That might help someone else know geographically to pinpoint you. And number 6, how do you prefer to work? Solo, with a partner, in a group. I like working alone to create something, for example, and then I like to involve people to give me some feedback, a partner, and then I love working with a team to give a presentation. So how do you like to work? All right, so now we'll move to the checklist. All right, so this is our second slide. Looking at this list quickly, just jot down some things you like doing or can imagine yourself doing within the chapter. We'll go quickly on this. If there's absolutely something you do not like doing, you could put that down too. Do not like, want to avoid, would like to find a partner who could help me with that piece of it. What could you see yourself doing within the chapter? All right. Okay, so that's a great job. We are going to go into some breakout rooms. Kathy is going to help us do that. All you'll need to do is click the join button when the screen pops up and invites you to join a breakout room. If you've called in on the phone, we will place you in a breakout room. Phone callers use *6 to unmute and mute. Once in the breakout room, you will have each a minute to share. So time each other, say gentle time when the time is up, pass along to the next person to share. And if you have extra time, you can go around and share again. Kathy is going to give us 3 minutes, 3 person per room in the breakout room. Zoom will give you a 59-second warning. Ignore that warning and keep talking. Zoom will bring you back after those 59 seconds. So 4 things I want you to share. You can write this down. You can see them on the slide. Number 1, your area of expertise, and don't be shy. Number 2, how you like to work, solo, partner, or in a group. Number 3, some things that you like doing or want to learn how to do from the checklist. And number 4, one thing you don't like doing. My mom always said we could have one thing that we didn't have to eat. That was okra. Anyway, name that thing that you don't like to do. So Kathy, are you ready with the breakout rooms?
Yep, I sure am. I'm going to send people over there right now.
Anybody else want to share? So like there's pieces of the agenda that might be helpful. Presenting, and just like social media. Nice. Very good. I struggle with social media too. That's it. There's something about Ashley that you were sharing. I think she could help the group leader with the agenda, maybe even the skill building, the communication skill building exercise. That's my hunch. I would encourage you, if you are not the group leader, to talk to the group leader about helping out with the agenda item, that's skill building, the communication skills. Susan says, mine is presenting to adults and writing, lots of international experience, so I can bring that to climate discussion. So writing, good. Yeah, there's writing in a bunch of the different levers. So certainly letters to the editor and writing to members of Congress, and then presenting, that is nice. If you find somebody who can help you find presentations, that would be a nice little team there. Oh, hey, Ashley, the Richmond chapter. Yeah, I live an hour and a half west of Richmond now, so that's the chapter I started. That's a great chapter. You will have fun with Richmond. They're very nicely organized, I think. And then maybe do you know Monica Lewis? She's done like art education. She's one of the chapter group leaders. All right, so welcome back, everybody. Let's go to that what's next slide. So we've looked at the 5 levers. You've identified one that you might like to activate. You've answered questions with the volunteer inventory. You've shared, if the breakout rooms worked, with another person about your inventory. So what's your next step? Okay, if you have not already met with a group leader, share your answers to your volunteer inventory. Let them know which lever you'd like to activate and how: learning, taking action, leading a special project, joining a committee, leading a committee, and then ask the group leader, how can I help? And then go from there in helping to build the political will for your members of Congress. And there's my contact information. Reach out with any questions. I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Citizens Climate Lobby's training program. You can tune into more episodes anywhere podcasts are available. Inspired by what you heard today? Join Citizens Climate Lobby to advocate for bipartisan climate solutions. Go to community.citizensclimate.org to find more trainings, resources, your local chapter, national action teams, discussion forums, and more. Be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and Instagram @CitizensClimate. We also invite all of our listeners to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiration. and together, we are creating the political will for a livable world.